My name is Christian Burns. Today I will be discussing the consequences of modern development. First, urban areas all over the world continue to expand and digital communication increases. Many people are affected by these changes in their daily lives. These changes are seen as progress, but they have also created a lot of social and environmental problems. Beginning in the mid-late 90s, including weaker community connections and more serious ecological damage. Modern developments ranging from urbanization and digital technology to industrial expansion and climate change, which impact almost the entire global population of over 8 billion people. This leads me to my research question. To what extent do modern developments such as urban expansion and digital communication create social and environmental consequences? To answer this question, the lens social must be taken into consideration. Modern developments have weakened important relationships by reducing opportunities for in-person interaction. Ferrer et al. Researchers in urban studies state that third places provide many opportunities for informal public life, where individuals could engage in every conversation and interactions. They also explain that these spaces have helped create a sense of belonging, allowing people to feel connected in their communities. However, the article shows that modern social changes have led to a decline in human interaction, as people are increasingly disconnected even when in shared environments and places. Meanwhile, Ferrer et al. Showed that not all coffee shops successfully create interactions, as some people remain alone even within shared spaces due to social differences and different behaviors. This demonstrates that although modern developments get higher physical connections, they can weaken deeper social relationships with people. Additionally, the economic lens must also be considered. Modern urban development focuses too much on immediate profit, ignoring the long-term costs of environmental and social decay. Naima Sarwa, a researcher in environmental science, and her team explained that the way cities grow so fast really spikes our ecological footprint, which basically means we are using up resources way faster than the earth can grow them back. They also showed that turning natural land into built environments create a waste management crisis, which basically means we are using up resources way faster than the earth can grow them back. They also show that turning natural land into and stops the land from soaking up carbon, which leads to a huge cost for the climate later on. On the other hand, some planners argue that dense cities are actually greener because they make people use public transportation instead of driving cars. This demonstrates that while urban density might seem like a good idea, the initial destruction of nature creates an environmental debt that ends up being way more expensive than the profits made from the building the city in the first place. Urban expansion and digital growth are weakening our human connections and hurting the earth as well. We must stop trading community and nature for progress. Let's take action by joining a local group to protect green spaces, as well as reconnect with each other and save the environmental today. After recognizing the complexity of the issue, I developed two potential solutions. We have to fix how modern cities are killing our social lives and the planet. Local city councils need to quit talking and actually push for ecological co-housing. The main goal here is to stop building these giant lonely apartment blocks and start making neighborhoods where people actually have to talk to each other and share stuff. If we design places where neighborhoods share things like big kitchens, tool sheds, or gardens, we will stop wasting so much money and energy and will actually know the people living next door instead of just staring at our phones all day. Here's the graph that presents the technology market, which receives and how much it will begin to get more expensive in the upcoming years if we do not start co-housing together. However, there are two big limitations. First, Naima Sarwar, a researcher in environmental science, states that most people are super stubborn about their privacy. They've been told their whole lives that owning your own stuff is the only way to be successful. So some may think that owning a yard or kitchen is weird or annoying. Shown that over 21% has preferred to stay within their own homes than be with others. Second, Sarwar presents that the legal rules are myths. Most cities have laws that make it impossible to build these types of houses because they only want normal houses or apartments that make developers increase in money. Instead, we have to decide if we want to keep living in expensive lonely boxes or if we want a real neighborhood again. We need to tell our city leaders to change the laws so we can build for people, not for just poverty. If we don't start building for the person next door rather than having our pocket, about 66% 30% of the population stays isolated on their phone rather than talking to people. Since the list of limitations outweighs the implications, I developed a stronger solution. Similar, urban planners and local governments should consider community managed green zones in every high density neighborhood. Goldfarb states that these spaces we use digital apps not just for scrolling. As well, Ferrer also states back to this by saying that we need to consider more third places, but for organizing local partnerships, tool sharing, and workshops. This makes digital communication to result in physical face-to-face interaction by restoring local vibrancy. Renovation risk. Grace Kim, an international architect and co-housing expert, states that improving neighborhood green spaces often increases property values while strict rent controls or social housing protections. The very people that the project aims to connect may be priced out the area. Maintenance burnout. Kim continues, these projects rely heavily on volunteer equity. Initial enthusiasm can fade, leading to neglected spaces that become eyesores or safety hazards if there isn't a dedicated budget for professional oversight. However, Eric Kleinenberg talks about how city councils must shift from functional zoning to relational zoning, demanding that local representatives require all new residential developments to assign at least 50% of land to community non-commercial uses rather than just private balconies for parking. Kleinenberg also states that we should move from global editing to hyperlocal digital apps, deleting one global entertainment app and replacing it with a local or neighborhood tool sharing app to help real world exchange within your immediate zip code. Overall, the problem is causing people to disconnect without changes made to cities or urban areas. Everything will soon to start cost more. Technology will take over and will disconnect with our connections, people, or simply reality. But if we slowly start changing what we care about, local leaders and community members can work together to create neighborhoods that value human connection just as much as making money. These are the sources I use to develop my argument.
Okay, we'll get started with the first question. Christian, what evidence did you gather that you did not use, and why did you choose not to use it?